Hello and welcome back to another episode of SAP Simplified, Amplified, and Prepared. I'm your host, Dennis Horvath. In the last episode, we talked about common SAP pains. Today, we're going to answer those pains, AppD style. Let's get started. The first thing we talked about was system checks. I'm going to show you just how easy it is to do it in AppDynamics. And just like most of these things, it's about saving time, finding solutions faster, and automation. So let's jump on the controller and check things out. Right away, you can see a complete picture of your production landscape. Everything that SAP touches, all provided right here. Tons of great information, but we're not looking for this right now. We're just trying to find how the backups ran. So for that, we'll go into Tiers and Nodes. Click on our ERP, click Details, go into My Dashboards, and look at the list of what we include out of the box. All these dashboards have very specific metrics in them, highlighting what we feel are the key aspects of each system. But for what we're doing right now, we just care about the backup. This is a HANA database, so we've got a dashboard just for that. Click on that and it goes right to the last data backup was 17 hours ago. The log's been backed up just over 2 hours ago. Only 20% of the disk space is used, so we got plenty of room for future backups. Any failures would show up here, and then long durations. Let's continue our checks on HANA. Now that we know that the backup was fine, we'd go into disk, CPU, disk, and network dashboard. In here you can see performance data, see how your system's running as a whole, or see how HANA is responding. But specifically use space. We want to make sure that we have room for backup, any logs that grow, any temporary files. We want to continue those same kind of checks on the application server. So we go into server status overview. In here, very similar to what we saw in HANA, CPU, network, memory usage, and then specifically disk utilization. If we had multiple app servers, we would show each one individually, and then one that would include both, or an average of all. So then the admin would move to system logs. We have a dashboard for that. We'd go into logs and errors. And for an SAP system, as I mentioned in the previous video, ST22, SM22, and SLG1 are the primary transactions that a SAP admin would go into. Then we also have an ABAP runtime error graph, so they can see frequencies of errors. Now is where the admin would get down to the nitty-gritty of stuff, looking over process overviews, record updates, RFC queues, background jobs, locks, short dumps, load balancing, SAP services, any kind of alerting. And this is where all of our dashboards kind of take off. So to get a good idea of how processes are running, work processes specifically, we have a dashboard for those. Click on that and you see work process info, user connections, and then the utilization of those work processes. And this is what you'd want to expect. You'd want highs and lows, basically. Maybe not so many highs, not so many 100%, but you would want to reach that knowing that your system is running as quickly as possible. So then you move on to how iDocs are running. We have a dashboard for that, basically showing you all the inbound, outbound ones, processing time, and then any errors that show up. You want to go into look for the RFCs next. In the RFCs, you can see the ARFCs, TRFCs, QRFCs, errors. And after you verify the RFCs, you'd go to a background job dashboard, and basically showing you this very similar kind of stuff: background job process utilization, problematic background jobs, and then errors. Now troubleshooting. This is made so much easier by our workflow map. Right away you get an idea of how all the applications are working, response times, and then alerted if there's issues. So what's it look like end to end? Well, we can go into business transactions, and get an idea of all the different transactions that are happening. And we've got health alerts. Let's go into one that has red. Let's dive in deeper into one of these and just go to data collector, and we can see here's where all the time's being spent. This is the database statement that's being ran, taking up so much time. Inside SAP, you would have to transverse through a handful of different transactions to be able to get this information. There's no possible way that you would get it this quickly without knowing it's happening on the system and being set up ready to monitor it. This is where AppDynamics saves tons of time for basis admins, but really troubleshooting for anybody. And most importantly, this takes you into a proactive approach. No more relying on that end user to call in and say, hey, I think they feel slow today, without any real detail. You can get alerted right away. We can drill down, grab the information, see where it's slowing down at, make the fix, get it to the developers, and move on. And now one more aspect we want to get into is basically workload. So how's your SAP system handling? Do you have it optimized? Is it running efficiently? How quickly can we find that in our tool? So again, we'll go to tiers and nodes, ERP system, details. In the out-of-the-box dashboards, we provide work processes. So we click on here and we can see the utilization. It is using the work processes aggressively, just like we wanted. Dialog work processes, there are some available, just like we need. Update work processes are ready to go. That is essentially what we do well, how we can save SAP basis guys and developers and time finding the root cause, getting it fixed, moving on to the next thing. As I said before, all these checks can be automated to where they don't even have to manually go in here anymore. Be alerted when something does deviates from baseline, freeing up the basis guy to be able to do the other things in the system, find performance tuning, maintenance jobs, updates, project work, any of those higher involved processes that need to be done on every system. Next up, we're going to dive into how Business IQ is going to change the way that we look at SAP. That's all the time we have for today. I'm your host, Dennis Horvath. This is the SAP channel, simplified, amplified, and prepared.